We're live.
And boom, boom, bam, we're live. As you can see, I'm not Dustin, but here we go. We're going to do it anyhow. Sean, who do you got with you here tonight?
We got a special guest with us tonight. He watches from time to time. This is my father-in-law, Marty.
Nice to be on here. It's nice listening to you folks that are catching a big fish. I'm a trout fisherman in New Hampshire. So I get something 10 inches, 10-inch brook trout. That's a trophy.
Well, Marty, you and I might have to talk. I used to live in upstate New York, right by Roscoe, New York. Dry fly capital of the world. So
yeah. My wife and I just took a camping trip. We leave in mid-March because that's mud season. And we go down south. We come down here, visit Sean and my daughter Faith and the kids. And then we continue on for 5-6 weeks. But trout season starts April 15th. So I've already missed 2 weeks of it.
Yep.
So I got to get back there and catch up.
And Sean, who do we got as a guest tonight? I'll be right back.
We got Joe with us. Joe, how are you doing tonight?
Good. Appreciate you guys having me.
Yep. We're glad you joined us tonight. And
Absolutely.
Yep. Sorry, we're all scattered over the place tonight. Dustin will
it's all good.
Be back shortly.
Good.
So, we can take a moment to say hello to the chat real quick. We got Big Slim. What's up, Big Slim? Mike Sampson. Hello, Mike Sampson. Rex Wright. I don't know if I know Rex. Do you know him, Stan?
Rex Wright. No, that sounds. I've seen the name a couple times. I think. Yes.
Yep. And James. We were just talking about James from Cool Cats Fishing.
James.
They did a great job catching Skipjack the other day. They had the 1v1, him and Fish Zizzle.
Brandon.
Yep.
Awesome. We got Miss Fever in here. Apparently, she's got to wake up Austin. He was taking a nap. Austin, it's time to wake up.
Right.
Butterflies and Sunshine is in chat. Hello. Brandon's Outdoor Adventure. How's it going? Uncle Jeep is in the house. What's happening, Uncle Jeep?
Good to see you, Jeep.
Sampy, Mike Sampson. What's going on? Mr. Rogers 317. Always good to see everyone.
It's always good in the neighborhood.
Jeff Biel's in the house. I got my Ed Evans Schuylkill River hat on tonight. Nina's Kayak Crew. How's it going, Nina? There he is. Fish on Ed Evans. I've got the new Ed Evans baseball cap. We won't tell the story how I ended up with this hat, but I think Stan's.
I bet it's in an unstoppable short. I bet it is.
Oh goodness. Fishing for Whiskers says, "Howdy, hi y'all."
Right, getting itty bitty ready for work.
There you go. And Doug Talley from Rebel River Cat says hello.
And congratulations to Doug and his son, Mike. They killed it last weekend. 46-pounder, the PB, Mike's PB, to win the Hickory Heavyweight Championship we had here on the James. So congratulations to Doug and Mike, Rebel River Cats. Definitely check them out. They did an amazing job.
Yeah. What was it, 43 pounds?
40, I think 46.
46 pounds.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Nice fish. Can you imagine that, Joe? The very first live tournament. Very first live stream, their very first live tournament, go out and catch a PB 46-pounder to win the day.
That's awesome.
But Mike, Joe, we appreciate you jumping up here with us tonight, and appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come up and
absolutely.
Plan tonight is to talk about the Tennessee River, and just so you know, your name was the top of the list. Everybody that we spoke to said, you know who you need to do? You need to talk to Joe. Joe is the man. I mean, everybody we spoke to. So.
No, I mean, I'm glad to be here, and the Tennessee River is like my second home. So.
And, is that, you hear a lot of people talk about time on the water. You know, in your opinion, how important is that to what you do?
I mean, it's just like anything, you practice. Um, whether you're an athlete or anything you want to pursue, I just think the time you put in will eventually reap the results from that work. So, and I think the more work you put in, the more confidence you get too with time, with just being on the water, and with that confidence, you even get more confident in trying new spots and new holes and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, definitely time on the water pays big dividends with finding big fish.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you struck another very important thing. I said it that I think is when you brought up confidence. I mean, when you're targeting big fish, I think that's one of the most important things you can have out there, because you got to be confident that you know what you're in the right area with the right baits at the right time. So
Sure.
that's really key.
Yeah, Joe, what's your biggest fish on the Tennessee?
I have a couple that are in the 90s. I think the biggest one's like 97, and then I had like a 90. I've had a few in the 80s. Several in the 50s, 60s. But yeah, I think the biggest is like 97 pounds.
Wow, almost the 100-pounder.
Almost, yeah. And that's kind of like the bucket list fish for every serious catfisherman, is to reach the triple digits.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So,
And what style fishing is your favorite?
Oh, there you go.
Probably the free lining, honestly. I usually free line just small pieces of raw chicken on standard spinning gear. I know now we're talking about chicken. But I've been using chicken for years, even before it was even really known on YouTube. I've been using it since like 2011. So, and I would just free line, using standard spinning gear, 10-pound line, just a, kale hook, 4/0 kale hook, small piece of chicken breast. I mean, no scent, just straight up
Yeah.
grocery store bought chicken. And I would just put on the hook, and I would just cast it in the tail race below the dam, and you can just whack out the channel cats, and then sometimes you can do some big blues. But that's probably my favorite, because it's really easy for people just to do that. You don't have to have all the heavy tackle, and it's just straight up simple type of fishing. And it's kind of an old school thing, but it's probably my favorite.
That is, do you do that? Do you do that mostly just there at the tail race by the dam, or you do that in any other sections?
I'll do it downriver too. It actually works really well in the spawn, because when the catfish won't hit the cut bait, they'll hit the chicken, because the chicken kind of looks like a mussel. So if you go over mussel beds and you're using that chicken, it kind of has that same kind of texture and effect in the water. So, and that's just my theory, but I think it really works well in the warmer months. So when water temp starts hitting 70 degrees, I'm going to be using that chicken. So,
Freddie, we appreciate that super chat. 222.
Here's his late fee.
Check out those FOA rods.
Now, Joe, do you do that in any deeper water, or is that mostly a shallow water type, or have you noticed it works better?
It works really well in the shallow water, but I've done it as deep as 50 feet.
Wow.
And I think you just obviously got to let out your line, and you got to just kind of know what the current's doing. I usually free line it when I'm going with the current. I don't slow my boat down. I don't troll. I just really go, with the current. But as long as you have the current, it can be productive. So typically it works better below the dams that I fish. I've done it at Chickamauga. I've done it at Nickajack. I've done it at Watts Bar. It can pretty much work. Now, some dams are better than others with that sort of method, but it's one of my go-tos. So haven't done it much this year because we just haven't had much current below the dams. But the biggest I had last year, a client caught it, was 64 pounds. So, and that was back in September. So I know it's fun. I mean, you sometimes clients break it off. They break off the fish, but it's just part of the game when you're using light tackle.
They get excited and start reeling a little too fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's just dancing with the devil, It's just you're gonna have those times where a fish will just run you into something, and then sometimes you just gotta be patient. And I tell people you gotta have patience over power with a fish like that. You gotta be in it for the long run. You just gotta have the patience while the fish has the power.
Great tips. And go ahead.
But it's fun. It's like I said, it never gets old for me especially when you get a big one on the light tackle stuff.
And not to cut you off, we got some more awesome people that came in. There's Shirley T out there. Fisher Fever Austin did join us. River Rat, how you doing? Brandon's Outdoors. Lance McCool guys out there. How's it going? There's Nina's kayak crew with the 222. Just because of Freddie, just saying. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Pontoon Jodi's out there. How's it going, Jody?
What's up, Jody?
And yeah,
Want to be outdoors in the chat. I saw him in there.
Want to be outdoors. Joe, switching gears a little bit. Was your family heavily involved in fishing? Was it something you did as a kid, or what kind of got you going with catfishing and fishing in general?
My grandfather did. I mean, he always made an effort with me and my siblings to always take us fishing growing up. I'm actually from Cincinnati, Ohio originally, and grew up fishing not the Ohio River, but the Great Miami River and Brookville Lake and some of these other smaller lakes up there. And and it was just a very simple type of fishing, just using worm and bobber and Zepco 33 open face reels and and you're bringing home your fish to eat, and didn't really get into the whole trophy fishing until I moved down south to Chattanooga.
You hear that, Marty? Big call out to us grandfathers out there. So thank you for that, Joe.
Yeah, well, my Chattanooga experience was my oldest daughter got her master's at the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, and we got to go down there, and I got the best Southern fried chicken that I ever had.
Champies.
Well, it was the Chattanooga Choo Choo, and then when I told that to some locals, they said, "Are you kidding me? That's like Taco Bell." But
yeah, but, you don't know what the Southern fried chicken is down here until you go to Champies.
Yeah, well, we're all done with that college experience. We got 4 of them through college now, and I'm done getting kicked around in the face with the college tuition bills. So
no, I understand. I hear you. I went to school at Lee University in Cleveland, Tennessee. So. But I'm very familiar with UTC.
But are you near Chattanooga? Is that where you're fishing the Tennessee River?
Yeah, I actually live in Red Bank, but yeah, I'm like 15 minutes from downtown. So I'm a big wrestling guy as well. So I coach wrestling, and UTC has a wrestling program there. And
you
so
follow college? You follow college?
I wrestled in college at Lee University. I was an All-American there, so kind of built my name up, and that's actually how I was able to get my teaching job here at Signal Mountain. I teach 6th grade and coach wrestling. So,
well, God bless you. God bless you, my friend. God bless you.
Yeah, I'm a pretty busy guy. Usually during January, February, I'm not even really fishing that much. I'm coaching and all that stuff. And
What do you think of Spencer Lee losing in the finals or semis?
that kid, that guy, I think it's from Purdue, had put Spencer Lee on his back in a dual meet earlier in the year, and it's wrestling.
That was a freak thing.
Yeah,
Undefeated, going for his 4th championship, losing like that.
I've seen it happen before.
Yeah.
With other Iowa wrestlers. I think Matt McDonough had something similar happen to him, but Spencer Lee, he's actually wrestling in the U.S. Open this weekend.
Oh wow!
So yeah, he's tough.
See him in Soriano again.
I think Soriano will beat him.
Yeah.
And let's see, we got a couple of questions out in chat. Nina, that's a good point. Nina says, so does Joe have a YouTube channel?
I do not. I'm just kidding.
Doesn't have a YouTube.
Yes, Chatt Catfishing.
On that note, his link is in the description, and Rhonda dropped it a little earlier. Hello, everybody. How y'all doing?
What's up, Dustin?
Welcome back, Dustin. Welcome back.
Working.
Oh, wrong side.
And we had a question from Cool Cats Fishing. I believe you know James out there pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
It says, Bam, Joe, tell us about that 88 pounds in the shallow creek.
Yeah, bam. That was last March 2022. Usually when the river gets blown out, I'll fish the backwaters of the creek. It's pretty much a watershed that goes right into the river. And James and I got on a pretty good bite that winter fishing the creek. And there was one night I told him, I was like, hey, I think we got a good shot to get a big one back there. I mean, we had pulled, I think before that time, we had caught like a 47 in there, a 35, a couple in the 20s. And I was like, I got a feeling it's just going to go down in this spot tonight. Had the hardest time getting bait. Like, took me like an hour just to get bait, but I was able to get some crappie. And I had my 2 rods, cut the crappie in half, threw a headpiece out there, and then I threw like a small piece on the other rod. And once James got there, he got his stuff set up, and 20 minutes later, I hook up with that 88 pounder. Definitely the biggest fish from the bank, biggest fish of the year, and it came on the small piece of crappie.
Isn't that something? Yeah,
it took like 15, 20 minutes to get in, and James did a good job netting the fish because I had my small net with me that night. And I told James, I was like, listen, like, you got to net this fish perfectly. Like, you can't net it by the tail. It has to be head first.
Mm-hmm.
They got to be able to swim into it type thing. And he landed it perfectly. But I thought, like, wow, this could be a 90 something pounder, my 3rd one, but it was right at 88.
Wow.
So,
yeah, we've never had any netting issues before.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I was going to bring it up, but
oh gosh, yeah, that's part of the fun though, in a way too, right? I mean, just a lot of emotions going on, and
without a doubt. Joe, can I ask you a follow-up question to that? I heard you, rattle off a bunch of numbers of weights that you had caught there. Do you keep a journal on your spots, or is it like a mental? You kind of remember where you've caught things and when you've caught them, or?
I usually make a report on Facebook every time I do a trip, and I make an Instagram post. So I usually just look back on those, I guess, memories and everything, and kind of have an idea of like what I need to do. And so that's kind of what I do. I don't get too scientific like some other people do, but I mean, I generally know, like, if the water's below or if the current's below 10,000 CFS, I'm going to be dragging, and you just kind of go on that. And so not too scientific though.
Kind of goes back to that whole time on the water thing, when the confidence that we were talking about before, you get to know what you got to do at what conditions, and it's kind of just a
Yeah, and that's what it is. I like fishing and everything, even on the days where I know it's going to be absolute crap. I think it's important for anglers to push themselves and work hard to get their fish on those days. You know it's going to be rough, because I think it only, one, it makes you really appreciate the fish you do catch, and then two, it just forces you to try new things when the going gets tough, and so
couldn't agree more.
exactly.
Hey, Joe, so we in this river series that we've been doing, we've been trying to focus a lot in on the I guess that didn't sound right. Focus in a lot on the details of the rivers that we're talking about. And of course, we brought you up tonight because your name was synonymous with the Tennessee River. And one of the things, as Stan mentioned earlier, I was listening in at the beginning of the broadcast. But one of the things that I like to kind of go over is some of the big overview of the rivers. And one of the main things that I research before we do these shows is I like to know the total length or approximate length of the river that we're talking about. And my research tells me that the Tennessee River is 652 miles long.
Yeah, it goes right into the Mississippi. The stretch that I fish is Nickajack, Chickamauga, Watts Bar, and Gunnersville reservoirs. But it's funny. The better fishing is actually Wheeler, and Pickwick's really good, and those are actually areas I haven't actually fished. But the entire Tennessee River is just, it's like a catfish factory. There's just so many catfish out there, and but I do believe there's certain areas that do better than others.
I had no idea that the Tennessee actually goes down into Alabama. Like I just learned.
Yeah, man. It, like Chattanooga. Not to put my own place on reserve, but Wheeler is where it's at for big fish. And I'd say Pickwick, Wheeler, Gunnersville, I would probably put higher than Nickajack. Nickajack has some big fish because you got the gorge, Raccoon Mountain, which is probably the deepest sections of the Tennessee River, where it gets down to like 100 feet. But I hear a lot of people pulling out some really big ones out of Wheeler. The King Cat tournaments down there. There's a reason why they have that tournament down there and not on Nickajack. I think Wheeler is they just got more volume of big fish, just from what I've seen and what I've heard, it does really well. And then Wilson Lake, I don't know if you guys have heard of Wilson. Wilson does really well, and but yeah, we're spoiled.
And Joe, can I ask a follow-up question on that? Do you think that one of the reasons why the Tennessee is such a productive river system is because it's got such varying habitats? You've got everything from slower, wider impoundments to faster current to, you've got pretty much every habitat out there.
I just think the food source is good. I think the abundance of food for them is good, and the shad, the skipjack, the moon eye, you got pretty much all the bait for days down there, and you got the mussels. It's just the whole ecosystem habitat in the Tennessee River is really good. It's really good. There's a lot of research that goes down on the river. Heck, we got the Tennessee Aquarium here in Chattanooga, and they work with the Tennessee River to keep data and just how the river's changing. And I think that's what makes it really good.
No, I said the guy stopped that way, ended up with a DUI.
And I totally agree, Joe. Like some of the people I've talked
No
to with
problem. I just have you
what
on
makes-
mute, so I'm actually doing.
Dustin, you're still
a
there.
couple things
You're
at
not
the same
muted,
time
Dustin.
while I'm waiting on this application to install. So
You're not muted, Dustin.
you'll see me clicking around on your screen, but I'll
Well,
check back with you.
I
Hey,
got
Dustin,
a police
not
car
muted.
chasing
But,
me right now, so I'm
I
gonna
agree.
bow
I've
out.
talked to people about what makes rivers. It's got to have a good food source. You know, like here on the James, we've got gizzard shad year round, huge gizzard shad, and I think that's you killed it right there with that.
I hear gizzard shad's
Thanks
really
for
good on
letting
the
me be on
James. Is
this.
that your number one bait you
100
guys
foot
like to
deep. Never
use?
imagined that.
Year round. I mean, we catch. It's not uncommon to have, and luckily we're a tidal river, so we get to use the gill net, and it's not uncommon to, in that one set, catch 4 or 5 gizzard shad over 16 inches. I mean,
Wow.
football size gizzard shad. So
They get pretty big.
yeah,
we dropped the net last
huge.
Friday. I think we
That's
pulled in
it.
maybe. What?
You're not muted.
I know.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, I was gonna say, we pulled in probably at, what did it say, 20 gizzard shad last weekend. We dropped the gill net. We had a
Easy.
50-foot gill net, and it was loaded.
That's awesome.
One of the things I was going to say, it comes up a lot when we talk about the Tennessee River. It came up a lot during the river battles, and I wanted to throw this question out. How many lakes is the Tennessee River composed of?
It's like 20 something, I think. I'm not exactly sure, but it's a lot. Because you got the smaller lakes as well, like the Ocoee and Normandy. I would say it's around 20 something.
Wow.
I got the TVA app on my phone that I could count those reservoirs. It may be 30 something, but it's quite a bit. Still the same river, just they give it nicknames based on the dams and whatnot. So it's a lot.
Yeah, I constantly hear Jody talking about, I'm on the lake, or I'm at Chickamauga, I'm at the dam. What does it mean when you're, I mean, aren't all those divided up into lakes, or what does it mean when I'm on the lake?
Yeah, what she's probably trying to say is when she says she's on the lake, she's probably saying she's above the dam, where it's not really the river section. Okay, you have a river section, and then you have like the lake. Lake is like wide open, like super open, big water type thing, but the river section is usually more narrow, and it's usually, below the dam, like the tailwaters of the dam, and maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 miles downriver from that dam. That's what she probably really means. So when someone says, "Hey, I'm fishing the lake," that means they're probably fishing above the dam, maybe 5-6 miles upriver of the dam. Okay,
Gotcha.
and then when someone's saying they're fishing the river, they're below the dam, fishing the tailwaters and little ways downstream from that dam. If that kind of makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that's been an ongoing joke ever since we started the river battles.
Oh, okay. It's still
yeah.
the same river. Like, it's still the Tennessee River. I just think, like, I'll tell you this, Dustin, like, if I'm fishing below the dam, the current's going to be a lot faster than if I were above the dam.
Right.
That makes sense. So I think that's where people kind of get their ideas about that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, man.
Joe, how many guided trips are you doing a week, or how does that work?
That's a good question. Like during the school year, I'm usually on the weekends. I mean, I control my schedule. So, and I got a family too. I got 3 little kids. And they're involved with like soccer and gymnastics. So I try to plan everything I can around their schedules. But usually during the school year, I'm usually doing 1 or 2 guide trips on the weekend. And then any breaks, I get away from the classroom. Sometimes I'll take off school and take a sick day to go fishing. But that's if I really feel like, hey, if you want a big flathead, I'd rather not go on the weekend. I'd rather go during the week when nobody's out there. But during the summertime is when I'm really doing the bulk of my trips. I'll do the mixed bag ordeal, fishing for bass using live bait, and then doing the catfishing with the chicken. And so really I'm a part-time guide.
Right. How many people can you take on your guide trips?
I usually take 2 because I only have a 17-foot boat.
Okay.
I can fit 2 comfortably. 3 is a stretch, and it really just depends on like how big the people are too. And Coast Guard gets very anal about that stuff. And but yeah, 1 or 2 people typically.
Gotcha. And on your website, I guess you've got all the details if someone wanted to come down and book a trip with you.
I'm partnered with Scenic City Fishing Charters. We're like the #1 premier guide service in Chattanooga, and there's like 7 of us guides, and we all kind of have our cup of tea type thing. And so yeah, if someone wants to fish with me, they can go through Scenic City, which is owned by Richard Sims, because I'm like an independent contractor with that company. Or people can just reach out to me directly through Facebook, Instagram, and
send you a message.
Yeah, pretty easy to find me. So
yeah, so I don't know if you asked anybody. I'm sorry, Sean. Anybody asked earlier? I know you were talking about blues. Do you target flatheads at all?
I do. So this is the time of the year to really be getting in on the flatheads. I've already done a couple trips down on Gunnersville this year, which I think is the best place for the flatheads, honestly. Once water temp hits like 60 degrees, I really start targeting them more. But once water temp hits 65, that's when you know for sure they're biting. But yeah, I usually do that in the springtime. So if someone specifically wants flatheads, I tell them usually mid-April through the 2nd week of May.
Jodi said she's out there hunting flatheads right now.
I think it's better during the daytime, personally.
Oh, wow.
During this, yeah, I catch all my big flatheads usually during the day on cut bait, actually. As long as the bait is fresh and they're moving, and that's when I was telling you, like, the magic number for flatheads is 65 degrees.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I said the magic water temp number for flatheads is 65 degrees.
Yeah.
That's when they really start getting active.
That's interesting because we have some friends that, matter of fact, they're in chat tonight. Ed Evans and Jeff Biel, they fished the Schuylkill River up in Pennsylvania, and he was saying that the magic number for them is 55. Well, I think 55 degrees is when they like anything below 55 is when they stop.
I fished the Schuylkill River before. I got family in Philly, and the Schuylkill has a lot of flatheads too. They don't really have blues in there.
Right.
They got channels and flats, but yeah, I've fished the Schuylkill quite a bit, actually. Yeah, it's different over there. It's a lot more shallow, and and you got boulders and rocks and bridges and.
Matter of fact, Ed just caught a 40. What was it this past weekend? 42, 43
something. Yeah, that was a
40,
beast.
43
nice.
flathead. Yeah.
Butterflies and
It was like this
sunshine
wide.
midday. It really just depends. Honestly, as long as that water temp is around 64, 65, and you got good current kind of going, I think they'll bite either way. But I will say usually the warmer the day is, the better.
So do you find flatheads bite with more current? Because from what I hear everybody talking about, flatheads don't like as much current as the blues do.
I mean, if you're fishing a down tree, when you got good current, I mean those flatheads are territorial. So I pulled some 50s and really fast current fishing down timber along the bank. I think they're moving. See, I don't think they're really. I think the water temp affects them more than current, personally.
Right.
Hmm.
I mean, I've caught them. I've caught them as low as like 0 current, spot locking. You
Hmm.
know, but then I've also caught them where in the current's like 2.5, 3 mile an hour. I think it's just depending on what the weather's doing and um, the water temp being a big thing, the bait, if the bait's around, and I think that's what they're gonna more focus on. Now the blues get more a little aggravating in that scenario because blues love the current. They cruise along the main channel, and that's where they're usually at. So they're so migratory. The blues are. You got to have current for them. If you don't got current, I mean, you can drag and you know and get some, but if you want a shot at big blue, you got to have current.
Yep. Totally agree. Totally agree.
But flatheads, even without the current, I I still think you can get them. So
Yeah.
So I know Daryl likes to free line for channel cast. Do you ever channel catfish like that or?
yeah, we were talking about that earlier. I showed Daryl that. Yeah, the free lining. I've been doing that since 2011. So it's a really good summer technique, especially when the spawn is in full swing. Now you may not get your monster, but you'll get the action.
Yeah.
And every now and then you get like a 20, 30 pounder during the spawn. That's a good fish on light tackle, you
Right.
know. But the chicken, resembles like a mussel.
Right.
So if you're going over mussel beds and everything, that chicken kind of has that same texture as like a mussel does, which is why I think chicken does so well.
Are you a believer on the amino acid breakdown of it? That whole scientific thing? You think it's just the?
I think it's just more the texture thing of it. It resembles the mussel. I don't soak it in any dye or
No.
no, it's not a scent
Yep.
thing really at this point. It's what it resembles, and I mean, and the free lining. I think we talked about this earlier, but you can do it literally all downriver, but you got to have current. So if you don't got current, not really going to do you a lick of any good. I mean, and if you got a south wind, then you can kiss that goodbye too.
Yep. Free lining is a technique I've used up north for everything from pike to bass. Do you have luck catching stripers and things like that on it in the river? Or?
No, not really. I don't really get a lot of stripers up where I'm at. I've had a few off anchor before on bluegill and skipjack, but now when I'm using live shad, I've free lined that and I've had stripers. That can be pretty fun.
Yeah, river rats. Yeah, river rat. He's saying just plain chicken.
Yep.
Plain chicken. Yeah, you don't need
I agree.
Yeah, like you don't need the. I mean, I just buy it from the grocery store, and then I cut it up into long strips that are like this long, and then I just put on a 4/0 Kale hook, and then I just cast it out and just hold the rod. But I've had days where I've pulled in like 40, 50 cats on the light tackle stuff. So
Wow.
it's fun. I mean, it really is. Like it's and anybody can do it. That's the thing. Like whether I'm taking out kids or adults, they know what they're doing. They cast it out. It's just so easy and so simple.
Now, you hear a lot of people that fish the Tennessee talking about skipjack. A lot of us that don't have that. Can you tell people what that is and like how important it is in the river?
Yeah, skipjack is a type of herring fish. They're very similar to the American hickory shad that you find up north. And they usually they usually like oxygenated water, so you're going to catch them mostly below the dams. Sometimes you'll catch them in creeks and everything. But skipjack is not just for catfish. Skipjack's actually the best bait for stripers too. You can free line those or Carolina rig it and catch some big stripers too. But, yeah, I mean, it's a very oily bait and it's very bloody. So just like anything, the catfish are going to love it. But I do better on bluegill than I do skipjack, believe it or not.
Hmm. No.
I don't know why. Well, maybe because see, skipjack, I do better with that in the spring. Like all my flatheads this year have come on skipjack. But when it comes to the summertime, fall, and winter, I'm not saying I won't abandon skipjack, but I'd take a bluegill over a skipjack. So it's what they want.
You think that has something to do with more prevalent, like as the season goes on, the bluegill get a little bigger, and so there's more of them out there. And
I think the bluegill are around trees, and I think they're around down timber. So I think
good point.
They're used to eating them.
that's the bait that they're, especially if you're fishing down trees and everything. I think that's going to be your bait of choice. Skipjack, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's good to use, but I don't know. Like, I feel like I can catch small, medium, and big fish on bluegill, but skipjack, it's usually like your power bait. It's like your lottery bait type thing. Skipjack, you're trying to hit the home run type thing, and
right. I hear you.
don't know. That's just kind of how I just like the bluegill. My PB, my first 90-pounder came on a bluegill head.
Wow.
My 97, I think, came on skipjack though. But my 88 I had from the creek came on crappie.
And Joe, I think that points out right there is you were talking before about what makes the Tennessee so good as food source, and that just points out what a great variety of food source that the Tennessee has. That's awesome.
100%. Like, and that's everything. That's the food chain. So you got to have the food source. If you don't have the food source there, you're not gonna do as well, I don't think. So it got to have the food source. It's just got to have that feeder put in place for them to be feeding on. So
We don't have skipjack here. My skipjack is white perch.
white perch works really good. I know Dieter Melhorn uses white perch and is very successful with it. Zach Royce, North Carolina, he fishes Lake Gadsden. He uses white perch.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you just got to use what's kind of natural in your body of water and just go with it.
Do you think, like here? I don't know if you guys have it on the Tennessee River, but here we have the shad run and the white perch migration for spawning. Do you think, in your opinion, do you think the blues ever get kind of like, I don't say like overloaded, but like there's so many perch, there's so much food. Do you think they just go after that, or do you think they're looking for something different?
I think if there's too much bait in the water, I think it can be counterproductive. And that's just the nature of it at that point. I don't know if I would abandon what I'm using, but I would just be very specific at that point what I'm targeting as far as where I'm fishing. So that usually becomes more of a problem, though, I feel like, with bass than it does with catfish, because catfish, I don't know, are typically lazier. Whereas the bass are really chasing their bait more than anything. So I see that more of a problem with bass than I do with the catfish. But I mean, I've had days when I'm out there and I'm like, golly, I have all this fresh bait and I'm not even touching it. I mean, that's just fishing.
Yeah, so, we've been, of course, the hickory shad run has been going, the perch run has been going, and I've noticed lately that we'll put out perch, and they seem to only want the live perch, and then
yeah, you're bringing up a good point about live and cut bait. I mean, I've had that. I don't use as much live bait for catfish as I used to. But I typically use live bait. If I'm going to do it, it's going to be mostly at night. But
Okay.
now the Demon Dragon rig has kind of offset it, that live bait for me a little bit, because the Demon Dragon rattles and it has that vibration in it already. So I feel like that is the liveness, I guess, with the bait, if that makes any sense.
It does. It does a lot. And to kind of piggyback that Freddie's question, it says, in your opinion, does spook or float color matter when using Santee Cooper rigs?
I haven't really noticed a difference, but I do have more success on the green white demon dragons than the darker ones. But I think the sound matters more than the color of your rattle, personally. And I think just the presentation of it all is what matters the most. I don't think color per se does. I mean, maybe a little bit, but I think catfish are going mostly on, their sensories and their, scent, and not so much sight at that point. But I will say, like, Freddie, if you're still listening, like, I would prefer a red hook than a just gray hook. If that makes, because it, I mean, like I use Team Catfish hooks, and I used to get the blood red hooks, and
Need some FOA
it was like
red
emphasizing,
hooks.
it was like emphasizing blood,
Cannot.
quote unquote, right?
Right.
So maybe there's something to that. But I haven't used a red hook in a while now. I've been using, Team Catfish is kind of, ever since COVID, they just haven't quite been the same in their products. Like, I haven't been able to get those red hooks as I used to, but Daiichi still has an abundance of their red hooks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think maybe it does. The more I'm thinking about
Supposedly,
it.
they say red is they don't see it as red, but it stands out better for them
Correct.
than any other color from what I've seen.
You're
And
right. You're right.
I
And
think
I guess
go ahead.
I was going to say, to that point, as far as red goes, red is the first color that's lost the deeper you go in the water too. So you got to depend on how deep you go. The red may not be seen, because the color red is the first color you lose when you go deeper in the water.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I used to have a red light for my fishing aquarium, so yeah, I know what you're saying. I think there's some school of thought on that for sure. It's just hard. I mean, I think the only way you can prove it with color of a demon dragon or float is to really document how much fish you're catching on those colors, And but Freddie, that's a good point. For sure. You said pink is the only card that gives, shimmer, glow, and day. Black, only card that, I gotcha. Okay.
And Joe, I think that goes back to what you had first said about confidence, time on the water, and confidence. You're using a particular color, and that's what catches them for you. You're going to have confidence in it. You're going to use it more. That's going to be the color that works for you. So I think right in the beginning, you struck it out with the confidence thing, and I really think you struck on something there.
Absolutely.
I have a question for you. For somebody that, because we have a lot of anglers that are just kind of getting going, and for somebody that's fishing the Tennessee River, or I know there's we said 650 something miles. For somebody that's newer and having some struggles, what's a couple things you can recommend for some people to try to kind of help them have a little more success?
Yeah, I mean, if it's your first time fishing the Tennessee River, and you have a boat, okay, I'd probably go to the dam. Honestly, I'd probably go to one of the dams and check that out, because there's always fish at the dam. And you know, and you can get bait there, and your skipjack and your shad, and I mean, heck, you can catch bluegill there, and then if you're going to be going down river, I'd probably just focus on like down trees on the bank. You can fish the channel, you know, and I mean, there's so many possibilities. I don't think you could really go wrong on how you fish the Tennessee River. But I feel like as far as time of day, nighttime would probably be, I think the night bite usually remains the most consistent.
I would just add on to that for somebody that's not fished the Tennessee before and you're coming in the area, you contact an amazing guide like Joe with
Yeah,
there.
book a trip with me, right? Yeah. And yeah, you can do that. You can, I mean, book a charter trip with someone that guides on the Tennessee River, or you can ask some locals. But I think the dam, like when I first started, I started fishing the dam first. And, you know, that's where you're going to get your bait. And that's where I mean, there's always fish at the dam. It's just easy, honestly.
Great tip. Fishing 101, fish where the fish are for success.
Right. Yeah.
Great tip.
I mean, and then obviously, like I tell people, you know, there's an app you can get on your phone called Navionics, which I use a lot. I use that actually more than my depth finder, believe it or not.
Dustin's.
So that's just where it's like, just, you know, be a cartographer, you know, study the maps, learn the maps. I think that's what, you know, being a fisherman is more than just catching fish, but it's really studying, you know, the maps and having a good eye for stuff. And you're kind of you're I don't know. I just think it helps you so much. It makes the fishing a lot easier in a way when you learn the river. So
would you say that's kind of a number one tip for somebody that's fishing out there and catching, say, eaters and wants to move up to catching those next level fish?
I would say study the river. I'd go on Navionics and go to Google Maps as well, and look for look at the contours, you know, look at those contour lines and study it. You know, be like, oh yeah, I see that's 30 feet here, but then it drops down to 55, you know, and then look on Google Maps and see what the bank looks like over there, you know. And I don't know. I just think that would probably be my tip if you're going to study at the house or something before you go down and fish a stretch, is to look on your maps and say, hey, I want to fish this area, I want to fish that, and I want to fish that. And you can kind of slowly pick it apart one by one.
I also say just be careful on the Navionics if you're going to use that for your depth finder. We have some friends that.
What impoundment are you on, Joe? It's funny.
That were fishing a part of the Appomattox River, and it said they were supposed to be in 11 feet, and when they looked over the edge, there was
I gotta go. I'll see you later.
That guy there.
Yeah, there is some. It's not always exact, especially in tidal rivers. It said 11 foot, and it was maybe even at high tide, it was maybe 4 at best, and it just out of nowhere. So
yeah, and that's one thing where, like, in the winter time, if you're going to fish the Tennessee River for the first time in the winter, I would not be on the lake, because I mean the lake does have some like very shallow sandbars, and they do drop the lake down a lot, like 10 feet. I'd be on the river like below the dam or something, and you know, of course, you got to ask yourself, well, what's the current doing? Are the floodgates on? Are they spilling? And there's a lot of variables that go into it. But for the most part, fishing below the dam is fine. I mean,
and Freddie had a great point out there. Said, with any new water, ask around.
Right,
look
let's
at
go ahead and
on
get
it.
you to log
ask
in.
locals. Yep, ask the locals.
And if nothing else, start with what you are confident in, both in how and similar areas.
Yeah, it's the same,
Like
same username you use to log into your computer. Password's the same as well. The only one you're not going to use is radio ID.
Fishin is asking what areas. I think you briefly touched on that before, but what areas of Tennessee are you fishing on?
Upper right-hand corner.
I mean, I'm usually fishing a little bit of everything. I'm usually below the
Oh.
dam. But then I'll go all the way downriver. I'll go through downtown, Moccasin Bend, Raccoon Mountain. I'm usually all over. You know, it just depends on what the clients really want, honestly. If they want flatheads, I'm not going to fish the dam. I'm going to go fish some, you know, mud banks with down timber, and you know, so it really just depends.
I
What
think
dam.
Big Skip is saying he's really wanting you to specific. What dam?
Big Skip, I fish
To
Chickamauga, I
Landon.
fish Nickajack, I fish Gunnersville, and I fish Watts Bar dams. Those are the dams I fish, but I'm typically down on Chickamauga.
Give a
What-
shout out to my boy Landon.
This is my
back
son
there.
Landon.
Hey, Landon.
Hi.
That's the vice mayor there. If Chatt has any other questions out there,
Sorry about that. I forgot to mute one and I forgot to mute the other, and I was talking to both people. I'm still working on this call while I'm doing this. So
that's what I was trying to tell you before about the mute. You were the shizzle is out there. Let's see. He said below. Oh, he was answering the question below Chickamauga Dam, Big Skip.
Yep.
Uh,
does anybody in chat have any more questions? Anything, you know, specific to the Tennessee River that Joe might be able to answer?
It will spoil you. The Tennessee River will. You know, we're very blessed to have the fish we do down here. Honestly, it's really, in some ways, unfair how much big fish we have here. You know, but it can easily spoil you. You know, but just like anything, you know, any body of water you're fishing, you are only as good as the water you're fishing. That's really what it boils down to. Like, I know it's easy to compare ourselves to other people and everything, but at the end of the day, you know, you are only as good as the waters you're fishing, and I think as long as you put in the time and you're
There you
working
go.
hard at it, you know, I think, and I'm usually right on this, like, you will get the results you want, you know. So it's just, and it may take some time, and you know, for some people it happens a lot quicker because we all have different, you know, we all learn differently in how we fish, and you know, there's people that, like, it's funny because, you know, I'm a fishing guide, and you know, with all me and the other guides, we all share information like, hey, yeah, Joe, I fished this new spot, you should fish it on your next trip. And I fish it and I don't get anything. Next time he goes out, he catches fish there. So sometimes, like, the devil is just in the details with stuff and how you're fishing, and you know, but I think as long as people just, you know, work hard and, you know, try to keep learning and don't get too content, you know, with their fishing, but just keep learning, and you'll eventually you'll find your way, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Great advice, Joe. And I think if you look at all the different ways that people fish the Tennessee, we see, you know, Bobcat with the bumping, and you and with the free lining, and you know, Jody with anchoring. There's so many different effective ways to fish different parts of it. I think you struck on a key point there, that keep trying different things, and if you know, there's certain areas that certain thing will work better than in other areas. So I think that's a great point that you put out there.
Mm-hmm. You live in Athens, big Skip. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like he's in Athens. Yeah,
See.
Right in the middle.
Was there any other questions? Any other questions about the for Joe, or about the Tennessee River? I know the Tennessee, a lot of people out there in the YouTube catfish community here from Tennessee fish the Tennessee River, and they're used to seeing a lot of people fishing the Tennessee. Probably one of the most represented rivers out there as far as in the YouTube community goes.
I would say so. Yeah, absolutely.
So
Joe,
yeah.
you're always welcome to come to fish the James with us.
That's a bucket list river. I like to fish, honestly. I mean, have you guys ever fished around Appomattox?
Yeah, right. Hopewell,
Hopewell, yeah,
yeah,
that's a spot.
yeah, that's
Okay.
Yeah, we fished
there's
the
some
ship.
spots I've looked on Navionics that looks really interesting. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like the James in some ways has bigger. Now the Tennessee River guys may hate me for this, but I feel like the James can be more productive than the Tennessee can. But I know you guys got tied and non-tied, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the key thing with us. I mean, that's one of the key things every day. If it's incoming tide, outgoing tide, water
6
level,
hours.
that really affects the current and where they're going to be and what they're going to be doing. And the James is same thing as the Tennessee. Very different rivers throughout. Like we've got the upper
Sure.
James. It's about the Tennessee, but we've got the same thing where we've got a lot of different conditions.
Right.
By Richmond, it's a narrower river. So it's smaller waters. You get down by Hopewell where the Appomattox comes in there and it's big, wide open, but you might have hundreds and hundreds of yards where it's, less than a foot deep. And then you'll have a small section where the channel is. And
Right. Do you guys talk to any of the guides out there, or is that kind of like, I don't know how they are out
We
there,
got one.
the YouTube folks?
yeah, for the most part, a lot of us are just kind of like, I've been doing the YouTube thing here myself, my son and I, for only a couple of years here. And so we've kind of learned a lot of things on our own. And then we were fishing with Dan, Green Machine Outdoors, and we kind of spent a lot of time. That's why I'm a big believer in time on the water.
Sure.
Because that's what we would just go to a section of river and learn that section. Where the ledge is, where the channel is, where the structures are, and then go to the next section and the next section. So
okay, cool.
But yeah, the guides are pretty much they're going to give you a general idea, and they're pretty good.
Okay.
So Freddie has a question. What's your favorite style of fishing? Anchoring, dragging, bumping, or drifting? And what rig do you prefer?
For big fish, anchor. It's just, I'm gonna say precision anchoring for big fish.
Yeah.
But for action, definitely drifting. I mean, but I drift more than I anchor though. So I feel like I cover more water when I'm drifting. And Cool Cats has a question. Oh, and Freddie, you asked about the rig. I like the I typically use Santee rigs just with the float Demon Dragon, and so usually 3 rods are rigged. Now, if I'm anchor fishing, 3 rods are rigged up with a Demon Dragon peg float, and my other 3 rods are just Carolina rig strictly.
Is this your current location, or are you moving right now?
Oh, that question wasn't for you, Joe.
Oh yeah, I know. That's why I didn't answer it.
Let's see. Big question. Bullock Experience is saying big question that's being stirred up around here is the effects of leachate on our fishing. Leachate on our fishing. Have you all been having that issue? Oh, leachate is the biohazard chemical waste from landfills being dumped.
Not really. I mean, the Tennessee River is, we do have warning signs of not to consume catfish, but, we fish it. I mean, because we're, the dam is a hydroelectric dam, but as far as the landfills, I haven't noticed anything.
They have, like here in the James, they recommend not eating catfish over 32 inches.
Yeah, they'd say just for catfish in general here. So
wow, really?
Yeah, but I don't think it's like that bad. I mean, I have clients all the time take home catfish that are like 5 pounds, 10 pounds. They ask me, Joe, is it okay? I'm like, I think so. Like, I mean, I think they just got to have those signs out there just to protect themselves, TVA and.
I agree. And, being honest, those bigger catfish, they've been out there for a long time. So obviously they're going to pick up if whatever is in the water. they're obviously just going to have more of that simulated and picked up in their body.
Right,
And
right.
part of that is how you clean them, cleaning them properly. And, you know, a
Sure.
lot of where the chemicals and the toxins are going to be, you're not eating that anyhow. So in my
Right.
opinion, so I'm with you on that. Are you a big CPR guy?
Yeah, I mean, I typically release catfish that are 15 pounds and over. So I tell people that if they don't fit in my live well, then they got to go back. And my live well is not very big. The biggest cat you can only put in there is like 15 pounds. So, yeah, definitely CPR, the big ones, you know, protect the gene pool and, you know, but I mean, I'll be honest with you though, Stan, that like in Tennessee, you can harvest one catfish 34 inches or bigger, only
Yep.
one per day per person. Now, if I had a client who was really adamant about, Joe, I really want to bring home this fish, I mean, I'd let him. I mean,
Yeah.
he's, as long as they're abiding by state regulations, I mean, you can't,
I
you
hear
know.
you. You know, my opinion is CPR all the way. Same thing you said, gene pool. But you're, you know, even for anybody else
I'm
out
not
there,
going to judge someone if they
exactly.
decide to bring. Now, if it were like a 60, 70 pounder, I'd be like, dude, like, you
Yeah.
know,
Hey, you know,
I'm like 99% sure I can convince anybody not to
right,
take it home,
right,
you know. But if it were like a 30 pounder, I'm not going to judge you like, oh
right.
my gosh, you're
If if
going
you
to hell
legally
for that. I
you
mean,
you legally caught the fish, it's legally your fish to do what you want with it. I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah. Now flatheads are the best to take, or the best to eat, hands down. So you get yourself like a 10 to 15 pound flathead, whoo,
and
top notch there.
yeah, I agree. And here's a question from Freddie saying, huge question. Have you heard of the FOA Customs and Gear? I don't know if you've met Freddie before or not, but the FOA Customs and Gear, especially their rods, the FOA double Y rods are 5 foot and 6 foot. And the spooks. This is the 7-inch FOA jumbo spook that they
Freddie,
carry.
I know you got a business and I know you do really well with it. I'd like to have a couple of those to try out if you don't mind sending me some. Were you at Freddie? I think you were at the gathering, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I
Yep.
should have introduced myself. I came in like the last.
Him and his wife Nina were both there.
Okay, yeah, I came for like a couple hours when Daryl was doing the giveaway stuff, but yeah, I mean, rods, I'm really set on my rods. But as far as like peg floats and everything, I mean, I typically use Demon Dragons, but I mean, you know,
There you go. You know, and everybody's going to have their favorites to use. And I'm a big, you know, we've talked about it and you've heard it come up, confidence, confidence, confidence. I'm a big believer in that too. And, you know, I bring up the FOA because we've used a lot of the FOA products and we've
okay.
caught some big, big fish on it. So I've got confidence in that. And that's why I tend to use it. But, you know, I think throughout this whole broadcast, you heard confidence coming up. And I think
Yeah, that's big,
that's
man. That's a big thing. So,
but
Real quick, Mrs. Fever, Austin's wife. CPR is catch, photograph, release.
oh, sorry about that. Yes.
yes, that's correct.
And there's various reasons, and we you know we ain't gonna get into all that right now, but basically it keeps the best genes, the best genetics out there. So it takes about 7 to 8 years for a catfish to reach sexual maturity. So they're not even breeding until then. So if you're taking the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, well, you're taking those big fish genetics out of the water. So oh, there you go. So Joe, Freddie says definitely reach out to him.
Okay.
He'd love to. I can give you, once we get off here, I can give you his email or text, whatever,
Okay.
and love to send them a few spooks to try.
Thanks,
There
Freddie.
you go.
All right. Well, if nobody has any more questions, it's we've run about 11 minutes long, but that's okay. I don't think anybody else runs any shows after us on Thursday nights. But oh, let's see, Stan, I had a question for a friend.
All right, well, shoot it. and then we'll get out of here. But yeah, Joe, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming up and talking to us about the Tennessee River tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on your show, guys, and really appreciate it. It's always fun to do this stuff, so I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. We we're still new to the whole podcast / talk show type thing. So, we appreciate anybody that agrees to come up and talk with us on our show.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it.
Big storm coming.
Landon said there's a big storm coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been getting some rain, so which is good.
Easy for you, Fats.
Rebel River Cats wants to that's right, Rebel River Cats, they won the Hickory heavyweight here with that 46-pound blue, saying they won the tournament with the Nina Ninjas and the Freddy's FOA Get 'em 10-aught hook. So another big shout out for FOA gear there.
Great hooks. All right, well, Misty, we'll send your question to him.
There you go.
That wasn't a serious question, Missy.
I don't know if you've heard about. There's the ladies call out challenge.
Yeah,
that's
I heard
here.
about that. Yeah,
pretty fun thing, and it's to raise some money for cancer research. So
that's good.
All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna jump off of here. Again, thank you, Joe, for coming up and talking. Sean had to jump out, so he had to go take care of something. But Stan, thank you for filling in. Appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
And thank you, Chatt. Thank you, everybody, for coming in tonight. We hope everybody learned something. Hope everybody had a wonderful time. And we hope to see you next week. I don't know what next week's gonna bring yet, but we will definitely let everybody know.
We'll find out.
So keep an eye on this weekend. The women's call out challenge. Stan, your channel is hosting when?
I am hosting May 7th, the very last night of the last day. I am fishing this Saturday night, the 3 to 9 shift.
And then I'm fishing against Helena Saturday, 1 to 9 or whatever.
Sunday, 1 to 7.
Something like that, 1 to 7. And don't forget the Friday night fishing mare fish-a-thon. Is that what we're calling it now?
I think that's what we're doing. The Friday fish-a-thon.
We're going to teleport everybody from Stan's channel to Jody's channel to Ed's channel, fishing from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. So go check them out. Hope everybody has a wonderful evening, has a wonderful weekend, and we'll see everybody out on the water.
See you guys.